So to start off, I'll just give sort of like a the playing field of what we're talking, the concepts of what we're talking about. But to be clear, what we're talking about isn't a concept, which is in the end the difficulty, which is where the seeking comes from. So what we're talking about, it's very simple. This is it. I mean that. This is it in every sense of the word. Every sense of that, this is it. Now, you could say there's two thises. There's a this as an object, as the experiencer of the room and the room itself. So there's me and the experience of what's happening. That's like one reality. It's illusory. So in a sense, it's not even really happening. And then there's what we're talking about here. I guess we're talking about both of those, but this is more suggesting that this is that which is longed for. So it is a table, it is pants or legs and a floor and a room, but that is that which can't be known. So there isn't a nothingness out of which this comes. There isn't a source of this. There isn't somewhere else other than this. This is that. Full stop. That's the end of it. Now, for that first reality of this being an object, that is meaningless. There's nothing in it for it. There's nothing in it. There's no hope. There's no meaning. There's no purpose. There's no becoming. There's no intention. And all of those things are necessary or feel to be necessary to that first reality of this room as an object. This room as an object, the individual, that experience, feels like that this room as an object, or this as an object, objectified reality, it's becoming. So in this meeting, it's becoming whatever's being talked about. It's going to find what we're suggesting. It's going to realize something. Something needs to happen for this to be what the suggestion is, that this is already. Never happens. Didn't happen here. It'll never happen there. Doesn't happen. Because the separation isn't real. The experience that this is an objective reality isn't real. It's only real to that subjective experience. And that's the suggestion anyway, is an illusion. This is the absolute. This is fulfillment. This is unconditional love. It is that already. Already. Yeah. So that's sort of a baseline of concepts. And we can talk about that. I mean, I'll say as well, the meeting isn't about imparting concepts or clarifying the experience of the individual or becoming anything or getting rid of the separate experience. There's absolutely no intention here or in the room. It's all already completely fulfilled as it is, without any need to be anything else. And that includes that first reality. There's nothing right or wrong with that either. This isn't trying to change it. That reality is that which can't be said, that fulfillment, the absolute as well. Huh? Yeah, all right. Yeah.
So yesterday, you said that when you recognized this, that you felt no need to tell anybody about it.
Yeah.
So, why are you doing this?
Yeah, well, it's in the question, I didn't recognize this. Nobody recognizes this. It wasn't actually something that happens to someone. It's the end of something which never happened. It's the end of the dream, that this is an objectified reality.
So that's different. So talking to anyone about it was like, that's a whole different thing than what you're doing now.
I'm lost.
Well, you said that you had no need to tell anyone that things changed.
Yeah. Oh, no. Well, it's not that there's no need to tell anyone. It's that there's nothing to say.
Okay.
There's just nothing to say about it.
Okay.
In a sense, you could say words often have intention, or speaking often has intention to change what is, to become something else, to inform that of something that this has. So that would be sort of a teaching, that this has something that doesn't, and it's trying to show that what this sees. That's just not what this is. This is just saying how it is already, without any intention of having anybody see it or not. There isn't any reason why that should or shouldn't. It makes no difference whatsoever. So when everything is that already, it appears to change, but it has no value. So the experience of separation is exactly the same in that way as there being no illusion of separation.
So why are you telling us that there's nothing to say?
I'm not. That's pretty much. So at the beginning, I said there was a reality of an objectified reality, subject-object. And I said that was illusory. And another way you could say that is there is no you. There is no I.
Right.
And it isn't that the I becomes a no I, it's just that there never is an I. That's why the end of that is the end of something that never happened. So there isn't anyone here telling you anything, and there isn't anyone there asking.
Jim, so unless you're actually being physically threatened, you don't feel any fear or worry or anything like that?
It's not really about what emotions arise. It's that whatever happens isn't happening for anyone, or whatever happens is that already.
But what about the fearfulness that the individual lives in? Like, I feel terrified sitting here, like this somehow threatens me. Not the message, just everything. I feel like genuinely feel threatened by everything in this room.
Yeah.
I know that might sound dramatic, but that's...
It does, yeah.
That's something that comes
But all this is saying is that's it as well. That's all that's being said. It's really simple.
Can I ask, there's an appearance of an individual, but that appearance is an illusion?
Yeah.
But that individual is only real to itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. In other words, when the I collapses, the illusion can't be seen.
The illusion
Cannot be seen.
Well, I mean, In a way, so here when it melted, it was seen to melt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about cannot be seen other individuals. Oh, that's an.
Well, there aren't any.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, right. Okay. Oh, that's what you mean. Yeah. No, there aren't any.
It's only real to itself.
That's right. Yeah.
Is it the appearance of an individual or the implication? It feels like an implication, like it's implied, but it's not there. It's
Oh,
being pointed to,
well,
but it's not.
For the individual, it's the only experience I am. Everything is real to me.
Right.
So it's not implied, it's the experience. Yeah.
Jim, when you talk about the absolute,
Yeah.
to kind of clarify, because the word absolute has a lot of connotations. And I'm assuming it's just what is, that's
Yeah.
absolutely no more than that.
That's right. Well, what is to the individual is the objective, with the perception.
Okay.
A now,
Mhm.
something to be in or not be in. Whereas what the suggestion is there isn't anything other than the absolute.
Would you say the perception of the individual is also the absolute as well?
Absolutely. But the difficulty is it then has the experience of separation, the experience of the individual is that there's something that needs to happen.
Mm-hmm.
This has intention, it has meaning and purpose, and it's up to me to fulfill it.
Mhm.
And that's illusory. That comes out of the illusory experience that this is real, that it's happening to me, that I'm real.
Mhm.
Separation is a thorn.
Right.
Yeah.
So when before the phrase when the eye collapses, but then it doesn't really collapse.
No,
Because there really isn't any.
that's right.
Yeah, because wouldn't the eye be recognizing that anyways?
Excuse me?
Wouldn't the eye be recognizing that collapse anyways? It becomes like a
Well, there isn't an eye to
Indeed,
recognize.
yeah.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
nothing to realize.
What's that?
There's nothing to realize.
Right, right, yeah. Well, it's not a realization. The end of me isn't a realization, or it's difficult to say, but the seeing of this as that isn't a realization. It's the end of an experience that hid this as that.
Jen, is there anything you could say about separation?
Yeah. What would you like to, really, I don't know. It's discontent.
It's discontent for me.
Well, yeah, separation is a sense of discontent. The sense of something needing to happen.
But how does, you're not there to experience,
No.
so you can't talk about it,
About what?
about separation.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it's quite, I know all about separation, about the experience of separation, about, the function of the individual, what it needs, how it's just in a constant wheel of need, of looking for better experiences, how if something good happens, it holds on to it, about just all of that. I mean, we could talk for quite a while.
Oh, that's the separation.
That's
I'm thinking of the separation, object, person, all of that kind of stuff.
That is the separation.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the only separation there is.
Not that I did something and I'm holding on to it, it felt good. It's, I can see that separation, I don't want to lose it.
That's right.
It's the separation and functioning.
Yeah. Well, the separation of function is that the function of separation or the individual is seeking, which includes meaning and purpose, intention, need, the sense of volition, becoming.
Well, what about, there's a lot of anxiety when you're walking through the city,
Yeah?
or, excuse me. Or
you know, like just a lot of people around.
Yeah.
Does that go away?
That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about a better experience.
So there's still feelings of.
Well, there's feelings, but they don't happen for anyone. But that's not really what we're talking about. I mean, it's an aspect of it. What we're saying is that everything that appears is that which is longed for already. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not helpful, no. No.
People approach this message, in your experience, thinking that it will make them feel better?
Oh, it's different. There's like, I used to say there were two. Now it seems like there's three categories. The ones that are looking for something, right? And they'll get up and scream at me and leave because there's nothing on offer. And then there's the ones that are open. There's a readiness for something beyond getting something more for themselves. And then I think the larger category is a mixture of those two. The ones that would really like to get something, but there's something else that is really happy that nothing is being gotten. There's a hearing of something beyond getting something.
Well, it's relieving the sense that it's not another experience in a way. It's you know, there's a, with experiences, you know, I go around and they come and go, you know, usually.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I take all the different rides in the amusement park, whatever it is, my personal thing. And there's a sense of that here that it's not, or when we gather together like this, there's a sense of that it's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not another experience in a way.
Yeah.
It's something underneath.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, for me, it's relieving.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have to find anything in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious what your thoughts are having sort of potentially adapted to life without that focal point of individuality in terms of the relationship between learning and that sort of egoic sense of self.
Learning
As in the conceptualization of like factoids across time to sort of build these conceptual models you use to navigate the world.
God, that's too much for me. I don't know that there has been much of a difference in that. There's a relaxation about it all. So I guess learning would be easier than that. So there wouldn't be the sense of getting it right or wrong, or that someone was getting it right or wrong and then that mattered. So there might be an ease about that. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of asking from my own personal experience of how the brain sort of, you know, functions doing that, you know, sort of fitness produced effect of learning, of bringing, you know, concepts, linking them together.
Yeah.
And whether or not that gets better or worse.
Yeah. I guess for every body it might be different, but I imagine the ease about it might make learning easier.
Fair. Is it because there's no motivation for fulfillment in it?
Well, yeah, or the need to become.
Yeah.
Yeah, the need to get it right. So there's two things going on. You know, this is a story, but there's sort of the natural way of the body. You know, how it moves, how it talks, preferences, and those sorts of things. And the separate experience is an imposition on that. And so it tries to modulate everything, control everything. And so it would depend upon how influential that is on the natural way of being, the natural way the body is, as to what it would be like when that was no longer happening.
And so how was it?
Oh, it was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah. I'm just kidding. No, it's not really worth mentioning. The me is looking for something spectacular. that separate experience, this isn't a judgment, right? But it's very special. And especially itself is the most important of all the specialness around. And so it has an idea of what needs to happen for what it thinks this is talking about. So it has huge expectations for what this is talking about. And so it readily accepts really big buildings and people with funny hats and all those things because it feels like that jives with this expectation.
Where do those expectations come from?
The sense I just said, the sense of specialness.
Do you think culture, though, also?
Oh, well, it'll have an effect on how that specialness is, displayed. So in India, you let your fingernails grow through your hand, and in the West, you wear a funny hat and live in a big building.
But then also, not necessarily just like the trappings of that position or whatever, but also the subjective experience, like, oh, I'm going to be extraordinarily calm in all situations.
Oh, totally.
Yeah. And I'm going to have psychic powers.
That's right.
And all that stuff.
Yeah.
Where does that kind of stuff come from?
The need to be special.
And what about also like the end of suffering as well, like complete end of suffering?
What about it? Well,
Actually,
that's the experience that suffering is personal and that the only way to find relief would be for it to end.
As opposed to...
End there being no one suffering. Yeah. Everything is personalized, and so even what we're talking about is objectified. That's exactly how it remains hidden. Because the individual makes an object, not as a choice, but as a function. It is the subject to the objective reality. And so as a function, it makes an object of even what's being said here, although what's being said here is the objective reality of illusory. And it objectifies that.
So would you say that suffering still exists, but it just doesn't matter?
It depends on how you define suffering. I define suffering as seeking, and so in that way, suffering doesn't seem to happen. The seeking ends.
Seeking for something different from what it is.
Well, seeking in the way I'm talking about it, is in the individual, it's seeking a better experience. So whatever's happening, it's never, there's just not enough. This isn't enough. Whatever it is, it's just not enough. Even if it's a good experience, there's a need to hold on to that experience.
And so not enough or should be different, are there synonyms?
Yeah. More.
Yeah. Or less.
More.
Yeah.
So evident in little kids,
Oh, yeah.
because they want one thing, and the moment they got it, it's for 5 minutes, it's fine, and then they want the next thing, and then the next thing, and the next thing.
Even though there's no one there having an experience.
Or there.
Or there, right?
Yeah.
Or here, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you give sort of some examples from your apparent life of, like, let's say conflict comes into your experience.
Yeah.
Like, how would it be different for the you that isn't experiencing it versus, like, do you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter.
Okay.
The conflict doesn't matter.
No. Nor does the difference matter.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a rabbit hole that the individual throws up because it wants to know what it's like. and the problem with that is this is what it's like. But this isn't enough.
It's different because.
No, it is, in a way, in one sense you could say yes, but in another way, absolutely not.
Okay.
Because there isn't, the individual has the experience of being in a continuum of experience. And so it projects on what's being said here is that it's a better continuum of experience. But it's just no longer a continuum of experience, and that's meaningless to the individual. So the end of suffering isn't a continuum of experience. This as the absolute isn't a continuum of experience. There's no one here isn't a continuum of experience. It's just that there's no one. Nobody knows that. No one knows this is the absolute or unconditional love.
Jim, so if there's no intention there to show anyone anything, why would you?
Well, there's no intention there either.
Yeah.
But even the intention is intentionless. It has no value whatsoever. It's freedom appearing as intention.
Well, what I was going to ask is, if there's no intention there, then why would you point things out like that the difference doesn't matter and all this stuff?
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's just a response. It's just what happens. And I don't do it. In the same way that doesn't ask questions.
It still seems to me like there would need to be an intention in order for response to happen.
Well, so the solidity that we were talking about, I didn't actually mention solidity, but the objectification, you could say it's a solidity, a reality, that there's a reality. The individual is a reality and the room is a reality, two different realities. That is the individual seeing itself, really. So the individual sees itself as everything. And so what that's doing is, if there's an individual there, it sees the individual here. And because the individual has the experience of intention, that everything only happens because I have intention and because I have free will and choice, then that must be what's happening here. It has no idea that this is already intentions, even the experience of intention.
So it's one big projection.
Well, it's not a projection, it's an experience.
But you said something about on that end, it was like the room and everyone in it, there's no objectification on that end.
Well, there's no one objectifying. Everything
No
is.
one's, excuse me?
Everything is already that.
It's no one, okay, no one's objectifying.
No.
The problem is that the individual can only imagine in its own experience.
Totally.
Yeah. So everything that it's imagined is confined by its own limitation.
I just have to. I'm not being pedantic, but that's not really a problem.
Wow.
The problem for the individual is that there isn't one.
Yeah.
It's all already that. How do you fix that?
Sure, would you say that any teacher that teaches as a person, or teaches to a person, is still living in an illusion?
It would seem like it. It wouldn't make any sense otherwise. I mean, it makes an assumption that there's a real individual with free will and choice, and that is separate. That which is longed for is somehow separate. Those are they would have to be part of the teaching, including the experience for the teacher that they know something that they could tell you. Yeah, and all that's part of the illusion. None of that's true.
I've heard some teachers talk about like gradations of teachings, like, you know, this person's not ready to hear this message yet,
Right.
so I'm not going to give them this message.
Right.
What do you have to say about that?
Bullshit. That's the eloquent answer.
That's the uneloquent answer.
Oh, right. Well, that it has something to do with the individual. That the individual, there's a relationship between the experience of the individual or the intensity of the experience of the individual and this being that already. That there's a relationship, and there isn't. It's kind of all we're saying is there isn't a relationship. It's all that already.
And
there's no such thing as relationship if there's no individual.
Right. Yeah.
That's early.
Jim, when you said there's no intention behind the experience of intention,
Yeah.
that kind of shocks me a bit because what you're saying is there's no intention for that to become anything. It's just it's just what's appearing.
It's not that this doesn't have an intention, it's that this doesn't have an intention.
So the individual experience
Is an illusion.
Right.
Because everything is already without intention.
In my experience that I have an intention is without an intention, so it's just nothing arising out of the feeling that there's an intention.
Yeah.
The intention itself implies the presence of a me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Were you a seeker?
Every individual is a seeker. Every separate experience seeks.
Did you seek out specific experiences in the past?
Every individual seeks out specific experiences. They can't do anything but. Everything that happens in that separate experience is part of seeking. Because the experience of separation is throughout it's a need, a sense of need, that's actually cellular.
Everybody talking about as a contraction in the body?
Yeah.
And that falls away.
Yeah. Apparently. Well, apparently, because it doesn't really happen. Nothing really happens. This doesn't become that because the separate experience falls away.
And this wasn't any past condition.
What's that?
And this wasn't any past condition.
What's that? Don't get it.
There wasn't a past condition that became this.
Right. Yeah. Well, it became that. Everything is that. So there isn't anything that isn't already that. When I say that, I'm talking about what can't be objectified, what can't be known, but what's longed for. That's that. That's that.
Jim, why do you think this message is only 30 years old?
He's only 30 years old?
Yeah.
Well, I put a bit of a caveat in there, and that's in the purity that it's being expressed. Because really, in the Bible and everywhere else, you can find sort of hints or even direct statements of this. It just is then there's some concessions made to the seeker as well.
Why do you think it only arose 30 years ago?
I don't know. I mean, you come up with a theory that there wasn't anybody to hear it back then. And so now there is.
And maybe people tried to share this message back in the day, but there was nobody ready to hear it.
Well, that wouldn't make sense, actually, because who would care? This doesn't care if anyone hears this or not. There's absolutely no investment at all.
Yeah.
If this is heard, if anybody comes to the meetings or not. It doesn't make any difference. No one here is that being no one here, and 20 people here is that being 20 people here. It's the same. It's a little hard financially if nobody comes, but other than that.
Sorry, what was the reference to 30 years ago? Is that one of the meetings?
No, there's a man named Tony Parsons, who what you'd say was the father or grandfather of this radical, or I like the word pure, non-dualism. And it's never been, not in the way it's been talked about, I just don't know about it, that it's been talked in this sort of uncompromising way, without any acknowledgement on any level of a separate individual that could find this as that.
Jim, when you said it, Abby's own foot,
Yeah.
I'm a little confused because are you talking about the own foot by a
Something other than me, not the me. The me doesn't long for this.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe you could talk about the seeming influence that individuality has on this, because it is that, but at the same time, it seems to play a role in the actions that
Yeah.
seem to be taking place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one thing you can see that's quite clear is how angry everybody is. And that's a frustration of not being able to find what they want. The whole world seems to be agitated, more and more agitated, more and more frustrated with the lack of being able to get enough satisfaction.
It seems like all of the modern social structures want you to chase that.
Well, it's the other way around, really. It's the sense of something missing that creates the social structures that encourage, that try to fulfill what's being chased.
But then you're saying that is also that.
Oh, of course.
There's not like, because you say that, then it almost feels like there would be a sense of like, oh, it'd be good if there wasn't so much anger.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not only that, but there isn't a world.
Jim, is there any apparent deepening or anything like that after the meet?
No. No.
Is there an oscillation?
No.
Some people will talk about they'll oscillate, they'll say, it's all this, and then the me sort of, they'll say comes back and they go back and forth.
Right. Well, what's obvious is that with the recognition by no one, sorry, that all there is that, the me would be that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So where's the oscillation?
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, that works.
Yeah.
Could you say that again?
Oscillation. I don't remember. What was it?
Well, I said a couple of speakers.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
When this is recognized by no one, that everything is that which can't be known. That includes me and anything else, the experience of separation or anything else. So there wouldn't be any oscillation because everything is already that. Oscillation must be a personal experience.
But the sense of being someone doesn't come back there.
No, well, there never was anyone. There's nothing to come back.
Yeah, but there's apparent side effects that come out.
But it all is irrelevant.
But it would be impossible for those, like you've described them as outcroppings, but like side effects of the me to come back for that body, wouldn't it? Things like seeking.
It was never there.
Yeah, but seeking.
There's not an end of me. There's the end of the dream of something that never happened.
Yeah, but certain things have stopped, haven't they?
Maybe.
Like seeking, for
Yeah.
example. That hasn't happened since what you described as the recognition by no one.
Yeah. Yep, there's no more seeking.
Now, I was just wondering if aspects of that me experience could still arise there.
Well, there isn't a me, there never was a me. You're going to try to find a point that you can put a crowbar into and sort of wedge your way in. And the thing is that everything is already that. And this isn't about the differences, although there might be differences. But no one would know what they are.
No one would know what they are. So what you mean is whatever arises there, it's not seen as part of anything.
Right.
It's just arising.
It's just that arising.
So no one's there to look at it and go, oh, like, because I will look at certain things and go,
Well, it's not that no one's there to look. It's literally, it doesn't matter. The individual is, it can't do anything else. This isn't a judgment, it's just what it does. Everything that happens, it picks it up. It can't differentiate. It picks up everything and analyzes it, looking for the answer, looking for a better or worse, or looking for knowing, or looking for an experience, looking for a realization. Everything. Thoughts, feelings, anything. It's doing it all the time. And that's the experience of knowing who I am or where I am and finding out what I need to find or making my life better. And that's just part of that separate experience, that something is hidden and it needs to be found.
yeah.
By me, through my volition.
Yeah, because one of the
And
things
so the idea is that if that weren't happening, if that me fell away, that there would be somebody who knew there wasn't all of this stuff going on. And there isn't. It's just not. Because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, one of the things I'm always doing when something arises, well, not everything, but there's certain things that arise that I clearly think are part of the me experience because
They what? Part of the me
I think
experience.
they're part of the experience because
Oh yeah.
when I look back to glimpses, those things were gone.
Oh yeah, me is trying to figure it out all the time. It's trying to work it out. Yeah. As though it mattered. As though it's going to think its way or experience its way out of the separate experience. Know its way, realize its way out of the separate
Yeah,
experience.
it's trying to use thinking as a tool to get somewhere.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Jim, are there any changes in perception? Any changes in perception?
I mean, other than everything having a golden glow. Who would know? Yeah.
It feels completely amazing that it's so obvious that there's only this, there's never any separation, all of those things. There's never a self. And what's amazing is that it so convincingly feels like there is. Like, how could that possibly?
But if there's an experience of separation, then what you're calling obvious isn't.
Right.
It's an idea, a
Totally.
concept.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it just seems impossible.
Yeah, it is.
And it's
Yeah.
ubiquitous. It's like,
Yeah.
Jim, within this, is there an apparent
Within this?
within
Yeah.
is there an apparent like winnowing away of the me?
Yeah. Well, there can be. I mean, the for the individual, it's in a process of becoming.
So it's
And-
sort of apparently that's what it seems.
Until there isn't an individual, and then there wasn't a process.
And there was no individual.
Yeah. Right.
The process of becoming is really misleading.
Is misleading. Well, I mean, it's the experience of the separation is that it's part of a process of becoming. But it sees the whole world as that. It sees everything as the process of becoming, and it should, with free will, it tries to make things in its idea better. Thinks the world, everybody should have rainbows and be nice and good.
The same if there's a sense there of something playing out, the individual's just gonna play itself out as it plays out kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't, it's just a story.
That's the experience. Oh, that's just a story, yeah. There isn't anything outside of this. So the experience that it's playing out is just a story, that there's something other than this that's happening.
So knowing constitutes a knower, but there still seems to be a kind of understanding from this message over time. Well,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So did you witness those apparent changes as you came across Tony's message at first and over the years?
Where changes? What kind?
Or in your apparent experience?
Yeah. So Jim had a lot of experiences related to this message in a process.
Is all understanding just within a process?
No. There actually isn't anything in a process. There isn't a process. It's only that separate experience that lives in a continuum of process. Understanding is just an appearance.
But to go back to teachers and teachings, isn't it possible that you could have teachers teaching paths and practices, etc., who in fact have themselves realized the non-duality, but because there is no volition, intention, their teaching is just what's happening.
Oh, sweet.
Is that no? Because
That's very sweet. Give them an out. No one's doing it, so.
it's a little bit of an out, but
Yeah.
it's also
No. No.
They can't get it out.
No.
No.
No. No, it'd be intentionally misleading.
But there is no intention, and there is no.
No, well, intention is intentionless, is what I said, but there is an appearance of intention that comes with the individual who's trying to affect something, to make things better. And so if there's a teacher who's trying to affect something in someone, then they obviously feel like there's an individual and there's another individual to tell something to make it better.
So you don't think that might be
It's misleading.
in the person who's receiving the teaching, but not in the teacher?
Right, okay. I'm
I
sorry.
mean-
No, but
No.
if you like to believe that's
I'm
fine.
asking if you're-
Right, no.
So you're saying Tony
No.
Parsons is the first guy who
No, it's not
who
possible.
recognized?
I don't, it's hard to know exactly because you don't know exactly who wrote down the things people said. So what's being said here is literally unacceptable. And so if an individual hears it and tries to write it down, it will necessarily have some intention in it because the fact that there isn't any isn't something the individual can get a hold of. So it'll interpret it in a way. So this could easily say that all there is purity. This is pure. And if an individual hears that, then it will have the experience that something needs to happen for this to become pure because it doesn't know that this is all pure.
So,
Nor does this. No, it's all true, but it is.
So we should blame the messenger?
Absolutely.
So I've heard you say at some points when you used to sit with Tony that there was a feeling of home.
Yeah.
And how did that relationship of home change when the me fell away?
Huh. How the relation? It was no longer an object. Nor. So for me, sitting with Tony, it was a feeling as well. It's no longer a feeling.
In the sense that something else has been realized, or
Yeah, in a way, it's not realized, but yeah. Yeah.
So it's almost like it's not. And I'm trying to use the word greater than a feeling, but it's almost like there's something.
No, it's not greater than a feeling. And I mean, if you want to do greater or lesser, it's lesser than a feeling. It's lesser. It's so the experience of an objectified reality is something to have, something to know. And what this is pointing to is that something to have or something to know is completely illusory. So it's the loss of all of that. It's the loss of everything.
Is there a sadness experienced in that way?
Well, you're talking about how it happened here?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a story. So it's not really relevant.
So in a way, when it kind of moved from a feeling to something greater, is it more a sense of beingness?
No, you can't. This is it. Now, for the individual, because it's objectified, it has an idea of what should and shouldn't be. And that's the end of that. So you can't identify anything else because it's all already that. It's no longer the individual who says this should or shouldn't be. So this is that. It's this, it's like this. This is what it's like.
So it's almost like the sense of rightness in.
No, you can't do that. You can't throw a dart in it.
Yeah, I guess I was thinking that like that drops away, like the sense of like this feels right,
Yeah.
and then it just kind of drops away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Feelings still arise, like this is right or whatever. But there's a basic. Actually, when we're talking about the me, we're talking about a basic experience that's not objectifiable, but which objectifies everything and colors everything from out of that experience. So the loss is what we're talking about, a loss of something that you've got no idea about. It was only ever recognized when it fell away.
It's so fundamental.
It's absolutely, yeah, intrinsic, yeah.
Because everything is filtered through that sense. It's almost at the root.
Well, it's not really filtered through, it is that sense. So there isn't the idea that there's an individual here with an objectified reality is actually it's not that way. The individual isn't actually in here, it's in everything. So when the individual arises here, it actually arises as the solidity or the knowing or the objectification of everything. So all the individual, all that separate experiences really is itself.
Yeah. It almost energetically projects out this.
It's not a projection, it is already. It doesn't arise here and project out. It arises as everything. Yeah, it's even more hopeless.
I know. Well, in a way, relieving though, actually.
Oh, good.
Because it's like,
yeah.
The first one is like, I'm doing it wrong.
That's right,
Yeah.
exactly.
You know, and then the
Yeah.
second one, fuck it, you know?
It's almost like as if you take the layers away. There's sort of like, the very bottom of it, which we obviously don't know. but it almost feels like you get to this place where it's just senses in a way.
Yeah.
Do you know what
I do, but that's not really what we're talking about.
Right.
It sounds to me like an effort to sort of be now or something like that, because it's not about the senses.
Okay.
It is that what's happening is that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's including all the layers or anything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the senses.
And the sense, yeah, everything. Is that already?
Would you say that the range of emotions are kind of the same, it's just that they don't happen for anyone? Or is there a certain level of adjustment in that sense?
So when the separate experience loosens, there's a lot of stuff that's been sort of pushed down, and that can sort of come out then. But without anyone, there's just emotions just not feeling.
When you say there's any relationship to the magnitude, when there's not for anyone, or is it the same?
Well, in a sense you could say that, but it depends upon how much effect the individual had on the emotions in the first place. But all individuals have an idea of good and bad, right and wrong, as far as its experience, what should and shouldn't be. And so it modulates its emotions after that experience. And so it depends on how intensely it feels that about certain emotions as to what sort of effect it has on the emotions or thinking. And so that would then, of course, correlate with what it would be like if it weren't doing that. But it doesn't matter.
Has the Apparent Gym ever been on panels with teachers? Like you did the Parent Gym did Sam Harris.
Right.
So that comes to mind, but I haven't seen anything else. And I always thought that'd be interesting.
Right. Yeah, I don't. It just doesn't, I mean, the idea would be that we could exchange ideas about all sorts of, about what this is like and all the rest of it. And it's just too simple. It's just too simple, because if somebody suggests an idea about how to become nothing, then all this says is, no, there is only nothing.
Yeah.
And the individual is also already nothing.
Yeah, I don't know if you said it or Tony said it, but it was
Who?
like a bit, yeah, I didn't know if you said it or if Tony said
Yeah.
it, but it was like, you can't really have a conversation
No.
with this.
But the conversation or a panel has sort of the idea of going somewhere or getting somewhere.
Learning something.
Yeah. And that's just pretty much what this is saying, is there's nothing going anywhere already.
I just
Hard
want
to
see
have a
something
discussion
like
about that.
Jerry Springer.
What's that?
I just want to see something like Jerry Springer.
Oh,
Then why did you do the Sam Harris pod? If that's the case, there's no conversation to be had about this.
Well, there isn't any free will and choice, but the process was somebody said I should. Because I had exactly the same question, why?
Right.
And someone goes, oh, do it.
From my perspective, it seemed like he was applying a sort of a logical shovel to the message.
Yeah, he was, yeah. It's impenetrable when you have somebody that thinks they already know. Yeah. But only understanding wise. Because who knows, you could still hear it. It doesn't have anything to do with the individual and what it thinks it knows about what's happening. Because the openness has nothing to do with the individual or readiness. Yeah, he's a bit of a bully, really.
I found it interesting, and the same with the Buddha and the gas pump guy.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're trying to impose their reality on you because what you're suggesting is too terrifying.
Yeah.
So they almost want to convince you of whatever it is that they're saying.
Yeah.
I found it actually quite amusing.
Yeah. They also have like a very obvious ego.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, I think some of them feel like this is a dangerous message, or it's not gonna lead anywhere.
That's true.
Yeah. I had a teacher I used to work with a couple of years ago. I had emailed him because he had introduced me to Tony like 5 years ago. He gave me one of his books. And so I emailed him to thank him because I really enjoyed listening to Tony and Young. And he replied by giving me all these practices to do.
Oh, that's really sweet, isn't it?
He's probably just gonna throw the book out anyway, because might as well here.
So to ask you a question, isn't it really just me trying to gain more knowledge, which kind of takes me away from the message?
Oh, there's nothing away from the message. That's the message.
I'm less receptive to
No, there is nothing. There is no closer or further away to what's being said.
I keep wanting to ask something, but then I keep catching myself. I feel like a fraud because no
Yeah.
matter what I ask you, I'm just trying to gain more knowledge,
Yeah, well,
which isn't the message.
yeah, but trying not to is the same thing. It's the same intention of trying to get closer or further away to what's being said. And what we're saying is there isn't closer or further away. It's all that already.
So even that feeling is this, even that.
There isn't anything outside of that. But the individual feels like something has to happen. There's a right and a wrong way to do it, to get what it feels like it wants. And it doesn't want this.
So the individual, me is trying to move away from, or
Well, it is in opposition, you could say, to,
Like
well,
that's
in
what
a
it is.
sense, only in a sense is it in opposition to this as that. But there isn't anything outside of that which is everything. So it doesn't matter if there's an effort to not do something or do something to get closer or further away. It's all that. It's all that already.
that seeking though, would I be more receptive to hear this?
There isn't anyone that would ever be receptive to hear this. No one wants to hear this because there's nothing in it for the separate individual. The separate individual lives in a dualistic, objectified reality. And this, what we're talking about, is that is illusory. So there is nothing for that objectified reality in what we're talking about. So there's nothing in it for it. At the same time, nothing that happens in that illusory objectified reality has any effect on the fact that it's already that. There's nothing else. So it's seeking for what is already. But actually it's not. It's seeking for something else. But in the end, what's longed for is what is already. And that has no effect on that. Makes no difference.
It's almost like your introductions are perfect because it just levels it.
Totally. I tell you, every single time, this wants to say, well, we can go home now.
I want to leave.
That's it.
I'm only going to confuse myself more. I'm like, wait.
Yeah. Confusion is that too, though.
Yeah.
So when you say there's something else that it's seeking for,
Yeah.
is that what you're saying is the unknown? Or
No.
what is that you're saying?
That there is something. The illusion for the individual is that there's something else.
What about the non-individual? Because you sort of separate it sometimes.
Well, there isn't a non-individual. All there is that.
Right.
All there is this, which is that.
Yes.
And within this arises the experience of an individual separation, which longs, feels like it wants something else, which is just a part of the separate experience. It has no reality at all. There isn't anything else.
Something else isn't something that you're not saying.
No.
Okay.
No. Well, there is a secret which I don't normally tell. It costs a little more, but I do have a secret meeting in the room next door after this one.
Is this the closed
Just
secret?
sign up. This is the closed secret. There's a secret list you have to write your name on.
I just want to make sure I wasn't like
Talk about
missing
it.
something that
No,
you were trying to,
no.
okay,
No, but actually that's the whole mess. There isn't anything missing.
okay.
There already isn't anything missing. There isn't anything else. There isn't anything hidden. There's something overlaid on this as the experience of separation, which hides this from being everything, from that. Yeah.
But there really is nothing overlaid over it.
No.
So annoying.
I know.
Really annoying.
Because the eye cannot comprehend. Is eye and thought the same thing?
No.
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 So thought, but still it, but
Yeah.
I
The experience of I is that everything happens to me or everything is me. And that includes thoughts or feelings. But really that there's thoughts just simply happen. Me, the individual, the I, never had a thought. It doesn't have thoughts. It has the experience that thoughts happen to it. Or that it's its thoughts. It can have effects on thoughts and feelings, in as much as it gives energy to them. But it doesn't have that sort of power to have a thought.
The kind of thoughts that arise after the me supposedly falls away, is that any different than the
I don't know. Probably. They're all covered in golden light.
why not?
What's that?
Why not?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Do you ever wish for a different color? You kind of get tired of it.
How did you know? I woke up this morning and said gold again.
I feel like I noticed some dissatisfaction.
Oh, I tell ya.
It seems like it comes up a lot, people ask about other teachers, like Vishanti.
Yeah.
And it seems to come down to the implication that somehow what you're saying is more meaningful or impactful than anything I could say or anything that Vishanti is saying.
Yeah.
Whoever.
Right, right.
Do you think that's the case?
No. Well, I wouldn't say more meaningful or impactful, because really this is talking about the meaninglessness of this, the purposelessness of this. And what inevitably happens is a teacher, the reason they're called a teacher, or what a teacher would be, is somebody that knows something to impart to someone else. And so what they're imparting then is the knowing of how to find what they've found. That would be a teaching, as a guide or somebody to help you get somewhere. And where this is coming from, that's been seen to be misleading. That separation is an illusion. There is no way, there is no bridge to gap. So there's no way to get from here to there, because there isn't a here and a there of a separation, a real separation. And so this just points that out. And sometimes it points it out in a funny way, and sometimes more of a fundamental way. But it just sees that sort of teaching or trying to help the individual find wholeness is a fool's errand, because there isn't any separation. There isn't anything that isn't already whole.
So do you see any value at all in the pointing itself?
No. Well, it's not that I see, but there isn't any value in anything. Value is part of the story of the individual that's trying to find something. So it wants to collect value or become valuable or find the right thing, the valuable thing. And what this is saying is there isn't any value already. Everything is already that. So it being seen or not being seen has no value whatsoever. This isn't waiting to be seen or not seen.
Do you have any sense of why you're not just up there reading cookbooks or speaking gibberish?
Why I'm not?
Yeah.
Right. Well, there's questions that pertain to what we're talking about. So that's why I don't read cookbooks.
There's a sense of relief with the message.
Yeah, it can be.
So isn't that like an aiding just with that? Just hearing
Well, it actually would be more of a loss. The relief is a loss of the sense that something has to happen or there's something wrong with the way things are,
Right.
seemingly. Yeah. And no one does that. So it's not an attainment in any way whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah.
Jim, you know the physical contraction? Is that what gives this feeling of a physical boundary between what's in the body and what's not?
No. Well, I mean, this is details. But the physical attraction is just something in the body. It's the experience of separation that is the sense of a physical boundary.
Yeah, because I feel very clearly like there's something in here and that's separate to what's not.
Yeah.
That's gone.
Yeah.
That sense of boundary altogether.
Yeah.
There's just no sense.
The sense of others is part of the separate experience.
There's no sense of anything in that body.
Well, no, there isn't a sense of no sense of anything in the body.
No, I said there isn't a sense of there being anything.
I know, but you're asking if there's someone that knows that. No. There isn't any, it's not, the experience of separation isn't replaced by the experience of no separation.
That doesn't help.
No, well, it doesn't.
I know you're not practicing, but it doesn't help.
No, it doesn't. It's amazing anybody comes, isn't it?
The experience of no separation would be separation.
Totally. Yeah.
So in the context of that, are boundaries functional?
Yeah. Yeah, well, the body, I mean, obviously there's skin. For the individual, though, that's the end of its experience. That's the end of it. It lives within the skin of the body.
And you're not saying don't do this or don't do that. You're just saying that is what it is already.
Yeah.
So when people are asking about teachers, you're not saying like, well, don't do this and don't listen to that. Or you're
No.
just saying that's not what this is. What you're talking about.
Yeah.
And that's all you're saying, that everything that is already is. So it's not
That's
like
right.
you have to judge, well, I'm doing it
No.
wrong this way or this way.
No.
Or, yeah.
But it is saying something else, that it's saying there isn't a you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And whatever happens is what is that. And if it's going to see teachers, then that's what's happening. If it helps, then that's what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's all that already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's no value to it.
If there's a teacher and no teacher, no place to get.
Huh?
If there's a teacher and no teacher to follow, there's still no place to get.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned Tony earlier. I'm familiar with the name, but not so much with the message. Is this message?
Oh, same thing.
Same message.
That's where that was the inspiration here. Was Tony
So
Parsons.
this message doesn't differ from.
Well, I don't know. Probably in some ways of expressing, but I think the core of it would probably be very much the same. Yeah.
Was it immediate when you met with Tony and you heard it? Was it immediate, like you got it?
No, not in that way, and I didn't get it. But there was an immediate recognition of what was being said. So Jim had a sort of, you might call it an awakening in his 20s, and the worst thing that can ever happen to you, I tell you, because. And so I was seeking, and I went to a lot of teachers, and teachers often said things which touched that, but then there would be other stuff that went with it that would sort of not sit quite right. And when I heard Tony, there was nothing else. It was just that. And it was like, oh, yeah. And so there was a recognition there immediately that was it, without any fluff around. But that wasn't the end of the me.
Right.
Yeah.
The reason I ask is, like, going back to introductions, when your message is so direct that my brain wants to make it a metaphor, he really means something else.
Oh, I know.
You're literally saying no.
Oh, I did the same thing with Tony.
Freaking me out.
I did the same thing because he said things and it's like, well, that can't be true. He must mean something else. Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And it really is exactly what's being said.
Literally already.
It literally.
Two biggest words.
That's right.
That you can point.
That's right. Yeah.
And you use the word purity a lot, and it's almost like you have to be like so, when we're trying to like you said, dig under and all this stuff, you have to really like be pure back with us,
Oh, no, there's no intention here.
Well,
That's just the response. There's no effort. There's not trying to be anything. It's just the response.
Yeah.
But it's uncompromising.
Yeah. Well, that's just the way it is. That's not an intention, though.
And when you used to sit with Tony, did it feel like you were getting somewhere, or did it feel like...
No, I recognized the hopelessness of the situation fairly quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, because you said to me that obviously, like the first weekend you saw Tony, which was in France, you just asked questions the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Everyone else could get questions.
Yeah.
And then you said every meeting after that you didn't have any questions.
No.
But it must have felt like something was going on when you were sitting there hearing it.
No, it was like being put in front of a wall the entire time. There was nowhere to go. Yeah.
It seems like most other teachers, they give you like a sink for your striving.
A sink?
Like an absorber for your striving. You don't really for striving.
Striving. Oh, right. Yeah.
For the seeking.
Yeah.
They say seek with me.
No.
No, I mean, that's sort of the trip that they're on, I think, is sort of say, you can seek with me.
Hmm.
I wanted to ask about experience because there is no experience really, just the appearance, or there's an appearance that there's an experience.
Yeah. So experience is part of the separate reality. It requires an experiencer.
Which isn't really happening, it just seems.
No. Well, there isn't anything really happening.
What did you say? They give you an absorber for your striving?
Yeah, kind of like in a computer, there's like a heat sink to absorb the excess heat that's released by like the processing. So in this way, there's like teachers give you a sink or an absorber for your striving energy. It kind of gets absorbed and at least goes into like a controlled method technique.
Okay.
It doesn't leach in.
Jim, it's well, there's no points, but stop listening. Will it happen?
Huh?
Stop listening to this happen.
Do you mean, are you going to ever stop listening?
Yeah.
Who knows?
I can't take it anymore.
Oh, right. Right. Oh.
Then I don't have a choice.
Well, it's not that you don't have a choice, it's that there isn't a you.
No choices.
Oh, there are choices, there's just no you making them.
I know, but it's, I just wanted to change.
Yeah.
Change.
Mm.
And me kind of thinks it's gonna happen.
Yeah. Yeah, me does think it's gonna happen. Yeah. Mhm.
So I'm gonna give you a quote for comment.
Okay.
Okay. So a very famous teacher, who
Oh.
shall remain nameless, once said, "The realization of no self was like falling through space with nothing to do, nothing to be done, nothing to grasp onto. But the good news is there's no ground."
Oh, sweet.
You know that?
Yeah.
That's your comment. You say that when you don't like it.
Do I? Oh no, not necessarily. No, it's hard to know exactly what they mean, you know, because I could pick a couple of things out of there that this wouldn't say, but maybe it's the same thing.
You don't hear that and think, yes.
Maybe I just said maybe. So
No, you said
there isn't any falling. Who would fall? Where's that movement happening? And this isn't the realization of no self. It's the recognition that everything is that. So I'm not sure if it's the same thing. Because here there was many realizations of no self, that there never was a me, that there is no you, all of those things. And that's not what we're talking about now. So I don't know.
I think that's the panic people can feel of losing the self or
Yeah.
losing the I,
Yeah.
is that sense of fall, a free fall.
Yeah, the loss of control. Yeah.
And that is what is.
Oh, absolutely, there is no control.
Yeah.
But there isn't anything happening, so.
Right, like there's no ground, so
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't.
Right, so yeah, I think there's elements of that, right, in that quote, but again, then.
Yeah, who
it's not
knows? You have to
that
ask him.
self,
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Or her. I don't know.
oh, they're long past death, but, yeah.
Oh, they're dead?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, well. It's always good to have a dead guru. They can't pull you up on your shit.
No. Well, a lot of people did, when he
Yeah.
was alive, but.
Jim, when you use the word this or that, and there's like a noticing that the mind will say that this or that, the words are, is other than. It's almost like this. Well, okay, what is the that then? You know, like it's almost like it's looking for something.
Yeah,
other
of
than-
course, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like, well, what's the that?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I just noticed
Yeah.
that a sort of grasping that sort of occurs. And I guess the other thing too, and I think somebody before, maybe it was you, or it appears to be you, used within this.
Yeah.
But is it really a within?
Yeah. Well, it's a separate experience, yeah.
To
this appears as a separate
Okay, it
separate
appears,
experience.
yeah.
It seems to me that the requirement of the body to be able to make this subject-object discrimination is necessary for its apparent life,
Yeah.
i.e. I need to be able
Yeah.
to put something
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
Again, having sort of adapted to
Yeah.
how much of a sense of having an individual's body is still sort of
Oh, none. That all happens without the individual. So the brain does all that, assuming there is one, a brain that is. It does all that. It does a little bit better when there's no me.
So assuming there's a brain.
Yeah, I know. I'm a bit of a jokester with that, because really, no one knows they have a brain. It's just another assumption that the individual makes, lives in a world of assumptions. It's a bit of an aside, but you don't know, you never see your own brain. You only see others and assume that you've got one.
Hopefully. Nobody can see it, but in theory.
In theory. Yeah, in theory you can see your own brain. Not actually.
What's the distinction? I mean, if you had a, say for example.
Well, there's a distinction if you have a theory of unicorns, or if
No,
you
I
see
get
a
that. I get
unicorn.
that. I suppose it'd be a conceivable way, so could see it.
Well, no, you could see an image of it, or maybe a mirror image. If you have a mirror up there and somebody takes your head off, you know, whatever, but you wouldn't see your own brain. It's an aside. It's not important, but it's just something. The me lives with all these.
It's an interesting statement.
The me lives with all of these assumptions about reality.
They're kind of like headlessness with the.
I know, Douglas Harding, headless.
It just reminded me what you.
On having no head.
Yeah.
All you've got is a
Can't
little
see
fuzzy
anything.
thing, yeah.
Like, there's only one of us.
Yeah, that's right,
Only
yeah.
one face here.
Yeah.
So it's similar to that,
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
but not really.
Well, it just isn't pointing to what we're talking about, but it does
Because
sort
I
of.
have to look at my no face.
Well, it's still talking to a person, and that's just what this is, a bit of a dick pointing out the assumptions of the individual.
So I've heard some people say on occasion that losing the sense of me is almost like a sobering up. Like
Okay.
a delusion gets, a sense of delusion
Yeah.
gets stripped away.
Yeah.
Would you say that there's any sense of truth?
Yeah, in a way, drunk on me. Yeah. Yeah.
By that,
Hmm.
referring to what cannot be objectified.
Which is this. There's no this and that. This is that.
So then, it seems that logic could never approach it.
Oh, totally. Nothing can approach it because it is already everything.
Jim, so, things that the body does, you know, like eating, drinking.
Drinking, yeah.
Is it a function of your brain, the brain, or what is it?
Well, that would be an explanation, yeah.
That's just,
Yeah.
would you actually, keep saying you because I have to, I
Yeah.
don't have anything else to say. Or is that just happening?
Oh, it is. That's right. There's no explanation. It's just happening.
Whether you jump into the ocean or,
Yeah.
you know, because you're part of the polar bear club or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It just happens.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's not anything.
And
But would you do, with the apparent Jim is still doing things?
well, this does all sorts of things.
Yeah, but I mean,
Apparently.
like, apparent, like physical, like you wanna go out and lift weights or something.
Yeah, why not? I mean, anything.
I don't know.
Anything. Yeah.
Okay, just.
Yeah. For the individual, it's just all overlaid with the intention of becoming. Yeah. So it's not about what happens, it's just that it doesn't have any intention to it.
You get frustrated doing these? I mean, I know you make it look this way, but like, I just, no, I mean, seriously, like, if it was me.
No, it doesn't
Like, if
come
I was
out.
up there saying 2 + 2 is, 4, everyone was like that,
Yeah,
I'd be like, come on.
yeah.
You're literally saying this, but I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
no one here gets it either, but it's like, over time, I know you probably can't answer that, but I'd probably jump out the window if I was you. In a way, no, it's because
Yeah, I know,
you've been living this so long, or not you, but you know what I mean.
Well, there isn't so long, that's the point.
Right. I mean, you're helping us in a way.
What?
Well, we're attending.
Did you get a gold star yesterday? Because I'm taking it away.
I just know me, I would be, I'm not a patient person. If I do something like the back of my hand, which I know you don't.
But you're saying it all, the whole time,
I know,
all
yeah.
the time and back in the hand, all those things just don't come up. Yeah.
You would be frustrated if you wanted somebody to get it.
And I knew what I was trying to tell them and they wouldn't listen.
Like a teacher.
Like a teacher.
So you said there isn't a so long,
Yeah,
so there's no sense of you've been talking about this for a long time.
no, there's no experience of having talked about it for a long time. But, you know, this, remember, is 10 years ago. But that's this. There's no buildup of 10 years. This is 10 years.
There's no past, right?
Well, there is an apparent past, and that's this appearing as the past. It's not real. Yeah. But this isn't either. It's all that.
So Jim, it feels fresh and new each time because.
No, it doesn't feel fresh and new. It is fresh and new. Yeah.
I want to say I feel, but at each time, I know there's no each time apparently, but it feels fresh and new, hearing the same.
Yeah.
I could sit here all day and hear you say, this is all there is.
Hmm.
This is all, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
The appearance of the past is time.
Is what?
Is time.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Yeah. Gold star.
So is that both real and unreal at the same time?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say that. What I say is that it's that, which is the unreal bit. What can't be known there? Nothing.
So when you use the word, like people use the word reality or ultimate reality or things like that, what does it even mean?
Well, you don't know exactly.
Yeah.
Maybe this, but I would point out that there's no actual reality. There's no actuality to anything.
Mm-hmm.
There's only appearance of that.
So once what is the appearance of that? You know, like in Taoism, they'll say the Tao can't be understood or explained.
Right.
And the Tao is the mother of 10,000 things, or the appearances. But then people ask, but what is the Tao in and of itself?
Yeah, but that's this.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
There isn't a Tao somewhere else.
Yes.
This is that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The mind goes crazy.
Yeah, you can't do anything with it.
Yeah, they can't.
Nothing to hold on to.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
So imagination and mental chatter are also his.
Of course, or also that. Yeah.
Did you find those components decreasing in appearance?
Maybe.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
So when it feels terrifying, it's just the individual that feels.
Yeah, and it is though.
It is terrifying,
Yeah.
for that, but that's not real. Well, that's.
No, it's not. It's completely unreal. The individual. Yeah. But the terror isn't completely unreal.
It isn't completely unreal.
No, it's
So when
apparent.
you're terrified, that means you're afraid of,
That means there's terror.
that's it.
Yeah. The owner of terror is an illusion. But there is what is.
Right.
If it's terror or happiness or whatever, that's what is. The illusion is that someone's having that feeling.
So would you say that terror is a response that is triggered by an illusion?
Yeah.
Yeah. What the fuck?
What about animals? Yeah, they experience terror as well.
Do they?
Seems it's apparently they do. Yeah, you see a dog run away from somebody threatening it.
Yeah.
So, I guess would they?
It's gonna blow up.
Yeah. There's terror. Yeah, I don't know where it's going.
Sorry. Yeah. The dogs run away.
Yeah, just experiencing terror. So are they, I suppose, it's an impossible question to answer, but they're experiencing some sort of illusion as well.
Well, no, I wouldn't. Well, I just said that terror isn't the illusion that it happens to someone.
I was specifically talking about the terror that is the response to this.
Yeah.
I don't get that terror thing, I think it's kind of funny. But
Ah.
It's just, I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe I'm not getting it.
Oh, that's all right. There's nothing to get.